CTV News with Michelle Dubé and Ken Shaw.
Good evening. It is an incredible story of survival and a true testament to the human spirit.
3 women will now try to resume their lives after being held captive for years, one for more than a decade.
We've heard of these stories before. This time it is unfolding in Cleveland, Ohio. And in addition to those 3 women, there is also a young child involved. This story began more than 10 years ago when the first person disappeared, Michelle Knight. She was 21 years old. Then a year later, Amanda Berry disappeared after finishing her shift at a Burger King. In 2004, Gina DeJesus vanished. She was just 14 years old at the time. Now, so many years later, they were found less than 4 miles from where they were last seen. They were found in a home in a rundown Cleveland neighborhood. This home, what went on here for all those years? Here is CTV's Joy Malvin.
There was nothing unusual about this house, and neighbors say nothing unusual about its owner. But inside, police say 3 young women suffered unspeakable horror. Police say Amanda Berry and Gina DeJesus, teenagers when they vanished, and Michelle Knight all disappeared separately about a decade ago, likely tied up and held captive for all those years.
For Amanda's family, for Gina's family, for Michelle's family, prayers have finally been answered. The nightmare is over.
Police confirm Berry is the mother of a young girl, but refuse to say who the father is. They praise her bravery and the neighbor who heard her frantic screams.
I see this girl going nuts, trying to get out of her house. So I go on the porch. I go on the porch, and she says, "Help me get out. I've been in here a long time."
And it's this 911 call that led police to the house where they found the missing women.
Help me, I'm Amanda Berry.
You need police, fire, or ambulance?
I need police.
Okay, and what's going on there?
I've been kidnapped and I've been missing for 10 years, and I'm here. I'm free now.
Thankfully, and I mean thankfully, due to Amanda's brave actions, these 3 women are alive today.
Under arrest is the house owner, Ariel Castro, a former school bus driver, and his 2 brothers. Year after year, tips came in, but led nowhere.
Every single lead was followed up, no matter how small. As a lot of you know in this room, we dug up a couple backyards.
Last night, crowds cheered police as they whisked the women to a nearby medical facility, and to family who say they never lost faith.
I knew she would come home.
The FBI says it won't speculate on how or why these young women were preyed upon. That will come later in the investigation. Its first concern now is the young women who will need emotional counseling and time to heal with their families. Joy Malvin, CTV News, Cleveland.
You'll likely recall some of the other cases involving kidnapped children and teens who are found alive.
And we remember them because they are so rare. Police professionals know that the first few hours are crucial in a kidnapping case. CTV's Austin Delaney joins us in the studio. Austin, the reason the first few hours are so critical is because some of these cases turn tragic.
You're absolutely right, Ken. That's why this case is so different. For 10 years, they were kept alive, but also for a decade, investigators couldn't find them. One retired Toronto detective says police in Ohio should have connected the dots when they looked at where all 3 women were abducted.
I would say, yeah, a mistake.
The mistake, says former Detective Dave Perry, would have been treating the first victim, Michelle Knight, who was 21 when abducted in 2002, as an adult who vanished on her own accord. Perry says investigators in Cleveland should have looked at the map and clued in that all 3 abductions would have been related to a serial predator in the neighborhood.
It's about a 2-city block. All 3 of these women disappeared from. And, any investigator that's, got some experience in sexual behavior and sexual deviance should be able to look at that map and understand that they got a serious problem.
Perry is a retired Toronto homicide detective who solved the Cecilia Zhang and the Holly Jones abductions and murders. But Perry says he's never heard of anything like this Cleveland case and says there would have been little chance of the women escaping the 3 brothers alleged to have abducted them.
They were grabbed by what would be described as your worst nightmare, a very sadistic sexual predator who pre-organized and confined them in their home. So they're going to be physically confined. That's one issue. But psychologically and emotionally confined is even more powerful because they have been threatened, they have been abused, and even if they got a split moment where they perhaps thought about escaping, I can't imagine how much courage it would take to actually for them to even try that.
The Missing Child Society of Canada says it will be a long road to recovery.
They have no sense of reality. They have been living within their abductor's world for so many years that they actually don't, or our experience has been, they don't know that there's been searching. Their family has never given up.
That the knowledge that no one gave up hope is a powerful piece of information which will help the three women move forward.
And while the cases had gone cold, police in Cleveland say they checked every lead, no matter how small. But even neighbors on that sleepy street who went to backyard barbecues there never suspected three women were being held inside. Ken and Michelle?